In the UK, we've had access to CAR-T cells in relapsed diffuse large B-cell lymphoma for almost exactly a year. So December 2018 is when they first became available through NHS England. And the process is that you have to apply for them through a national panel, and I'm a member of that panel, and so I've been an author on the abstract of the outcomes of the first roughly 125 patients that were authorised. And what we found was that most patients that were authorised by the panel then had their apheresis and were then infused with their cells, although there was a dropout of patients due to aggressive disease. That's not surprising, but we did find that in the data. But perhaps what we were surprised about is the response rate at 3 months, which is what we were really looking for after infusion. That was our sort of primary endpoint really of the study, was fairly disappointing. So it was just over 30% when both products were looked at. Now that's significantly lower than the original phase 1-2 trials that were reported, and that may reflect the difference between a trial population and a real-world data set. I can certainly vouch for the fact that these were real-world patients coming through. You know, they were often patients with rapidly progressive disease. Quite a few of them had double or triple hit cytogenetic changes, so a properly, difficult patient group, often refractory to chemotherapy. Now this has made us pause really and think, actually for most of these patients the CAR-T cells are not benefiting them. Now that's not to say that they're not benefiting everyone, they are, and there are some durable remissions there. So the last thing we want to do is restrict access based on this. So that's not what anyone's suggesting. But I think it really does highlight the need, well, firstly to talk to patients properly when we're informing them of the options and avoiding too much hype, or perhaps having a realistic conversation that most patients won't benefit from having these cells. And one thing that we've all observed, this isn't sort of data if you like, but it's just our observation, is that if patients don't respond and they're away from home for quite long periods of time, they may well die away from home at the infusion centre, and that's really an awful sort of palliative process, if you like. So really we do have to make sure patients are aware of the implications of going for CAR-Ts, but also it really drives the message that we need to be able to identify who these patients are who are going to respond. Now we always say, with any new drug or intervention, we need to identify those who are going to respond and those who aren't, but it seems even more crucial here because it's very expensive. It's very disruptive for the patients to get this, and it's associated with serious toxicities. So, that really is a drive for the research effort to identify those responders. And in England, actually, we're quite well placed because we have a socialised healthcare system. There's no financial barriers to receiving this. We've got a good sort of unified group of clinicians who are treating patients, and already there are projects being developed to pool sort of clinical data, biological data, to try and understand some of these biomarkers of response.